Hi, it's Marva, and we're with Just Keep Living today. Today, I'm so excited, very, very pleased to have a new friend in my life and new friend in our family circle with the people that I do life with. And I have with me today Miss Jacqueline Bowman. And welcome, Miss Jackie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you prefer Jackie or Jacqueline?
Listen, for you, Jackie is just fine.
Is it? Because it makes me come. Okay. I just want you to keep smiling while we're talking.
Okay.
Yeah. So I ask all my guests to kick off with, how did we meet?
So we met through Mr. Arthur Porter of Dallas Designing Dreams.
And everyone knows that's my mentor.
Yes. And so that's how I got here from Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay.
And
so just about everyone that I've had on the show, though, we've met some kind of connection through Mr. Porter, but yours is unique and different and special.
in that it is.
So do tell.
Okay.
Spill a little bit of the tea, but nothing to shock us. Because
Okay.
I was shocked, but
Okay.
yay.
Okay. So a little bit of the tea is, let's just put it out there right away that he and I were engaged.
Right.
The journey is what I think is interesting you, which is why I'm here today.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about our alignment, and I'll talk about that a little bit as you enter me and usher me into the segment.
Yeah, so, you know, Mr. Porter, I had got back in town, and I'm doing live. Carla's on the set today, and he just kind of shares out loud that there was someone he wanted me to meet, and I assumed it was the person that he had just gotten off the call with. We are hanging out in the studio doing life, and he says, Miss Marva, when are you going to be back in town? There's someone I want you to meet.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay. Well, you know, who is it, Mr. Porter? He said, well, we're getting married. And we're like, what? You could have taken the oxygen out of the room. Mr. Porter is a 2-year widow. I believe this is his 2nd year. And so we, of course, want him to have companionship. But I'm going to tell you, I felt like a kid because I feel like, ain't we enough? It's enough of us that love you. Like, how you got room for one more person? And so then when he was explaining that he had been praying for a companion for the latter years of his life, who could blame him to want that?
Right.
And so, and we love him so much.
Yes.
And so it's been a great privilege to get to know you. So I met you last week, and it was just wonderful and natural.
Yes.
But you have your side of the experience. So in the
Yes.
meantime, he let us know, and I want to get him on here too to interview. He started praying March 5th for someone that the Lord was going to bring to him. Not knowing all of that. But so your journey started before March 5th, though.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, little backdrop. Let's talk about me. Who am I?
Yeah.
First of all, I'm a retired nurse, again, from Columbia, South Carolina. And my journey, I won't go so far back. I'm a mother of 3 daughters.
Great.
Beautiful daughters. And so, but I had a spouse that was really abusive. Not so much physical, but mental and emotional. And people take light of that, but it's a very serious thing to be under that type of scrutiny, living in close proximity with somebody. At some point, you connected and lived there. And to live through the bitterness, the harshness, the pain, the anguish, and then becoming mad in it. And in my case, becoming ill. My head started hurting, nose bleeding, and some other things took place. And I decided after much resistance, because of my dedication to commitment. I'm a commitment type of a person. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And when you tell God you're going to do something, marriage says until death do you part, you're there for that.
Okay.
And not understanding how to let that go was, or could have been, to my very own detriment. I'll say that. So
the length of the whole relationship was how many years?
The length of the whole relationship was more. Our daughter's 42 years old.
More than
marriage
42
not
years.
that long.
Okay.
Marriage not that long. Marriage was 9 years.
Okay.
In fact, we got pregnant when we were young. Dad sent him to the military. He went about his life as if nothing had happened before. Didn't come back properly as he should have as a father. And support as a parent, you know, co-parenting, we didn't do that. But life brought us back. We lost our son-in-law, our daughter's husband passed away, and that brought us into each other's circle under the compass of family.
Okay.
Doing what family do, one cooking, others taking grandkids, and bada, bada, bada. So we did all of those things, and that drew us so near to where we probably first had some love. Like it gave us that placebo is what I would call it today. Because we didn't nurture it necessarily. We fell into it by way of those things. All of those emotions, the love, the actions towards doing God things, and in that space, all of us together, it just was very befitting of being able to manifest love out of that. It was. And so we'll fast forward to after all of that, right? After we did all of that, we lived together happily, so it seemed to me. Something was obviously not straightforward. Some things changed, I could tell. I'm not one to really pry and look for things when God gives it to me. He gives it to me in the gut. I learned later in life to respect that, pray about it, and self-evaluate. What am I doing? Right? So when you know what you're doing, and if nothing is wrong with you and something is wrong somewhere else, I've spent a lot of years in several other relationships trying to fix people. You can't do that. So you have to accept what is given and be accountable to it, and it's not easy. So we want to refuse and go on with the least path of resistance, right? It's hard to have those emotions that you have to deal with that's going to land you in the word that everybody hates, and that's loneliness. So I ended up, after all I tried to stay and fix and do and be.
For 9 years.
For 9 years. It just wasn't right. It wasn't right from the start, if I go on to admit it to myself. But
So what would you tell yourself then from the beginning? Because you're going to help people.
From the beginning, I would say that you got to give God a chance, because even with your intuitiveness and what you think you know,
Give God a chance to what?
to show you what it is that He wants you to do. I was floating on what I thought,
Okay.
not really being able to feel God in it, really. And him being a deacon gave me an overtone.
He had a title?
He had a title.
Okay.
And I was thinking, maybe I'm missing something here. The fear is coming from me, is what I thought. So I took the responsibility of that, to go on to learn that, no, that was God truly telling you wasn't where you were supposed to be.
Just because they have a title doesn't mean you lay down your filter of
don't.
discernment.
No, you
Okay.
don't.
I mean,
No, you
you're
don't.
going to help the women.
No,
Like,
you don't. You
right.
have to
Right.
stick to. So for me, let's talk about for me. God gives me something in the spirit. I call it my gut, because I kind of feel it working up. Like for any mothers that has been blessed enough to be pregnant, it's like when you're about ready to push, when it's time for that, it feels like a push. Something has to, and you almost gotta honor that thing, because it just wants to come out,
Right.
whatever it is. Only it's a spiritual birth that you're giving to something good, usually. But if you disobey it, it manifests itself into suppression. So then you're not comfortable all the time. You've got this discomfort that you can't quite put your finger on. There you go. That's it. And that's where the word disease come from.
Right.
And it's not just only an infection in the body, it's in the spirit as well. And so I stayed for that. But what made me stay is I had a spinal incident on my job.
Oh, okay.
And it put me, I was going home from work one night. I had a 3:45 p.m. to a 3:45 a.m. job that I worked in the ER for over 27 years. So I was coming home one night driving, and I blinked my eyes and could not open them. And coming from my job to home is straight on the interstate. So I'm about 80, like 3:45 in the morning, ain't nobody on the road but you. So you just getting on down the road trying to get home. Could not open my eyes. And that landed me in the hospital for I don't know how long at first. Now I know it's a couple months. They had to put me under. They couldn't figure out what was going on.
Did you have an accident?
I had no accident.
Oh, praise God
I had
for that.
no accident. It's just my spinal cord had attached itself to my vertebrae. And so some of that funk was going on. So 2 years down in the bed, nobody had gone to my job to say A, B, C, or D. So I lost my job. I had no insurance. And my 401k had kicked in. Somebody figured that out, paying bills. And when I came to, what happened.
This is during the 9-year marriage?
This is during a 9-year marriage.
And what do you mean nobody went and told your job?
Nobody went to my job to say she's in the hospital, she's sick, she won't be back. I don't know what happened because I wasn't conscious.
Wow.
So, but this is the person that's caring for me that's not caring for me. That was the first thing I got, like, you need to leave. But that was so seemingly circumstantial, like, well, how could you not know to do these things? And where are the people, So phone shut off, this is the level of care that he gave me. He put himself in charge and he left me vulnerable.
And your daughters were not able to
Well, they weren't welcome.
intervene?
Now I know. No,
Oh,
they weren't
okay.
welcome. So it's the enemy working behind the scene.
Wow.
The piece that you can't see, don't
Wow.
know. Today I know a lot more than I did
Right.
that day. So let's fast forward. With no insurance, he's a veteran. I don't have any insurance. So how the marriage got on the table? Well, you're spending all your money on health care. If we get married, then of course you can have insurance. So the relief to the pockets, right? That wrong entry, money, the root of all evil, okay? So, but that was an entry into how we got there. That was the push for me, right? So it was right for that reason. And then you got the title with it, and things are looking good. I don't know the malfeasance of all that is taking place because I was in the bed for 2 years, not able to walk after that.
Wow.
I didn't walk for 2 years.
Wow.
I was living on painkillers and things like that. So I went on to, not only did I lose my job at that time, I went on to be addicted to oxycodone and all of those types of things. And one of my friends at my previous employment, I went there to orthopedic treatment. They took me off of the medicine, but I was not ready. I still was not walking, in so much pain. And it's a botched surgery. I still have pain, but I've learned how to cope with it through therapy and different things that I do. So I lost my license because she helped me. I took the help, but it landed her in trouble and me in trouble from getting prescription medications for drugs. So I wasn't a druggie. She was trying to help me. I needed the help. I was sick. I was in a bad way. And so a lot of bad things came out of that. So, but what I learned is the time, now I know. I didn't know until I'd say about 1.5 years ago, right? So we fast forward to 1.5 years ago. I went through so much. That was a lot of stuff in that. That's a book. That's a stuff, right?
Yeah,
it is
that's
a book.
a book.
You're
You
right.
take
It
your
is.
time and-
So it's got a lot of stuff in there. So you muddle through those things and you come to the other side where God says you can do nothing about what is done.
When did you know in your life?
Yeah.
When did you know that you could hear from God yourself? When did you cultivate and develop that?
So after I lost my license, and I was still in a wheelchair, and I laid there and I contemplated suicide, and I had it all. I was just over it. I was just like over it. I was like, God, I've done all of this for you all of my life, my whole family. I've taken care of my mother, my brother, my sister, my grandmother, everybody. Why is this happening to me? All I've done, like I'm the first one to graduate from college. How is this? You told me if I did this, like I do the right thing for the right reason every time for everybody. And I give all to friends and strangers, all. But this is how I end up in a wheelchair, in a bed. I was like over it. I wanted it to be over.
You wanted life to be over.
I wanted life to be over. I wanted the bad relationship to be over. I wanted the pain I was feeling from my body to be over. I just wanted peace, however I could get it. And it seems in that place, it didn't take long, in that place, God says, I hear you. Almost. That's what it felt like, almost. Almost was not good enough. I was screaming out, crying out. How? What? You said in your word, I got the Bible and I called him on his word. He said, if I said it in my words, if I get you to it, I'll get you through it. And something opened up. Because, in fact, you are to it. You're at the point where you now see. So it wasn't about God. It was about you move yourself from where you could hear him. And I got discouraged in the process. So I decided with my sister, I said, listen, get me out of this chair. Let's get up. that little bit of therapy is not helping me. I can't walk. I need to move. So I got up. I threw the pills away. I went through a bad bout, but I had friends that came to help me
Your
get
friends
through it.
found you
They
after
did.
all of
Yeah,
this.
once I
Okay.
got up, things were, it all made sense. It all made sense as to why they weren't there. They tried to come, but some other things took place. So, but the biggest piece of even that, those processes that took place, the indecence, that was shown towards me, I don't even know what you call that, the cutthroat. There were a lot of ugly things to somebody you slept beside every night, until these things happened. Money's missing, jewelry missing, all this kind of a thing. And so, but none of that mattered to me. I wanted to get better. I wanted to get well. I want to know, God, whatever you have for me, if I failed you, I will not fail you again. Just get me out of this place, out of my head. I love life. I love people. And so it was that one act of getting up out of that chair.
And how did that happen? She physically came and
I took my legs out of that chair.
one step.
One step at a time. She stood there for support because I'd learned how to push myself up.
As a nurse.
As a nurse, I learned how to do it. I told her how to help me pivot out of that chair, and it was one step at a time. It took me about 2 years to get to where I would go back. When I went down, I went from playing tennis. I went from gym 4 times a week, getting up, early in the morning, and just a full life, eating right, doing right, to losing a lot.
On your back.
Losing a lot. And so when I did get my strength back, I could feel how heavy he was. He was doing ugly things, lots of things. So I said to him, let me tell you something. What I just went through, you wasn't there. You wasn't there. You was not there. You wasn't there for me at all. I don't know how to move forward with you. I said, but we're going to figure this out. I really wasn't saying he and I was talking about me and God. We're going to figure this out. And so his thing was automatically, let's move. So I was in the little house when we got together, the little house where I raised the children. It was bought and paid for. So I finally helped him get all of his benefits, and he was able to get his 100% disability, and we built a nice, big, beautiful house in the city. And so he was pushing the let's move there. That was my mistake, number one. I should have let him go and I should have stayed. But I'm thinking, okay, he's wanting to, Deacon Bowman is wanting to do something different, and we can make life work here. He's saying all of the things that I was praying for, so to speak. And so he's talking, but I was listening to the wrong voice. The voice that told me you don't need to go there, I ignored that because of the big house I always wanted and never got, and he came back and we're doing this family thing together. So I'm ignoring again, second time I'm ignoring because
You're ignoring the cautions and discernments and
in
the
the
red
spirit of
flags.
discernment, God wanted me to adhere to his ways, and then I could have, but you can't know what you don't know, because my whole thing is now I've suffered now. First of all, as a single parent at a young age. Secondly, with this thing with my body coming off of that, feeling like God is exonerating me, things are getting better, and we can go on to have something more, something greater. And the fact that we were able to, now I'm building a second house. It just felt like all of those things are what families do who are achieving and striving to do better and be in a better place. So it felt right.
Being led by feelings.
Feelings. Thank you.
What is that a fruit of the spirit?
It is not.
No. Oh, I'm trying
It
to
is not.
reinforce it for our good brother Justin.
I thank you for that. Feelings will lead you to the pits of hell.
Come on, feelings.
It will lead you to the pits of hell
Right.
until you acknowledge that what God gives you is everything, and that you're nothing in
He's
his
enough.
presence.
He's enough.
You must humble yourself. Then when we say we're going to seek his face,
Yes.
oh yeah, at that time. So at that moment,
What would correction have looked like? So if you were a friend, so friends have found you and they've been able to re-engage you. Could any friends have told you anything different when you're going through this? Could they have said, Jacqueline, I feel a caution in my spirit about what's going on in your life? Could you have received that at that time, do you think? Because you said you were feeling the title. You were feeling like this is what families do, the success, the materialistic stuff. Do you think you could have received correction from a friend?
or
Or did friends even try?
I tell you, I tell you no to that. And they're I would say they did come to say some things.
Okay.
But my friends are not like me. My grandmother was from the West Indies, okay? And so she was a very simple lady. So for me in life, as much as I love living and love people, things have never been my focus. And so my friends now, we got good jobs, we make good money, and we take trips, and so their focus is something of materialistic aspect. So they're pushing, oh, you guys are going to build a house? Yes. And so they're pushing me in that direction with the feelings, and I'm with the feelings because I want to feel that too, right? So there you have it. So, but what I have to look back at to say, could something have changed? My daughter at the time, who was, I think she was 18, my baby daughter, 18, she said to me, Mom, I don't think you ought to do that. So then I go back to the scripture where God says that our children would be wiser but weaker, but you can get a message and it can come out of the mouth of babes. Okay?
Absolutely.
And so at that place, I could have adhered to that because I could feel that in the spirit, not in the world of feeling and thinking in your head, but where God gives me that push, I could feel that there. And I just moved right on past it because what does she know?
Wow.
Right? What does she know?
Wow.
And we make those kind of mistakes because in life, everybody wants to be successful in a relationship. I'd had to, at that point, no successes. No successes.
So this was looking like success.
This was
finally.
looking like success. It was, in that I'd been denied and put down and had hard times in previous relationships and not really had a man to keep me nor protect me. And even though I had one that's repeating that same thing, like it's been manifested that you're not keeping me, but I pushed right past that to what looks like now we're going into a different place because of the house, because of the things, because of things. So when we get in the house, the first thing I said was, okay, well, we'll bless the house. He said, well, we'll get Pastor so-and-so. I said, no, I'm going to bless my house. I'm going to do that. I have the power to do that. He didn't walk with me from room to room. I just asked God in this room and that. You know what you do when you bless your house. We didn't consummate the house. And so I know right now that this is something else. I already know right now, going in the door.
Because you've gotten your physical healing.
I got my physical healing.
Through that. And then now you're in this relationship, in that house. It looks successful.
And everybody comes to it thinking it's a beautiful place. And I'm miserable going in. I'm miserable going in.
Peace don't live there.
Peace don't live there. And neither did I get any there. Going in. So going in, I said to myself, what is it that you really want here? He's not on board. My sister, who had never had a good life, that little house I raised my children in, I left it to her. Had it not been for that, I would have went back home. So no, you got to do the right thing for the right reason. You'll figure it out. So I moved forward. So that's in 2019.
Okay.
COVID hit.
Yes.
Now we're shut in together.
Woo.
So I started sewing. I got a daughter I got two that's brand ambassadors. And so the one daughter, she just I was telling her how I was feeling, what was going on. She's my middle child. And she says, Mom, you know what to do. I can hear you know what to do. Whatever you do is okay with me, but I can hear you know what to do. So that was my opportunity. She said, I know what to do. I went to the Bible. The first thing I turned to was Psalms. And it started. Where I turned, it says, He maketh me to lie down beside still waters. That's it. Get still. Stop it. Stop it. Get off. I'm talking to myself. Don't seek money. Don't seek notoriety. You don't care about a marriage that don't care about you. God says you can be free and be free indeed. I went there. So then I would walk nights, can't sleep, head hurt, nose bleeding. I decided this is it. I'm getting out. Not without much prayer, not without much supplication, not without much reading and alignment, self-evaluation to see, what am I contributing to this? Nothing. You should not have been here. That's the message. Get out. So I bought a house. I went and bought myself a house. I just bought a cute little old house, beautiful home, lots of character, and I just planned to move. Now, what I didn't tell you is we weren't even talking to each other.
It happens in a beautiful
2019,
house.
1 year in a beautiful house. After you didn't pray with me, you don't pray for me. I don't even know what you're doing. We don't even go anywhere together. But you go a lot, but just not with me.
Y'all are housemates.
That's what we were. I moved to the whole other room.
Y'all not sleeping in this? Okay, well,
We're not even sleeping together.
Wow. All
For
right.
over a year by the time I left. It was over a year. We did not sleep together. Not only did we not sleep together, he became so salty we weren't speaking. Not good morning, good night, nothing. Nothing. No words. So, all right. So I decided I'm going to leave. I went and found the house. And
So clearly finances have restored. Something has happened.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Just he did damage where he know to do it, but I had other places that I went on to then pull my money out of. I just pulled it out of it because I did not want. Now I know I'm leaving. I dropped a lot of money when we moved into that house, so we're not even gonna go there. I pulled my money out of my 401k, what little was left, and but anyways, it's enough that I can do something with. And I started sewing and doing some things. So during COVID, I made a good bit of money doing some things, some arts and crafts, basically.
Really?
So I went on. I bought that house, and I didn't tell him because he was being nasty. We're not talking. We were not talking. I moved out of that house, and I'd been gone, let's say a year. Just keep that 1 year in mind. But when I left, not one phone call. Not one. Where are you? How are you doing? You didn't come home. Are you safe? No, nothing.
did you take a moving van and move it out when
When he
movie
left
is
that
made?
morning?
What's it looking like?
When he left that morning, I'd already set it up. I called this little team called College Hunks.
Come on, team.
And they came in. I said, I'm going to take this, that, and that. I didn't want everything. Keep it all. It doesn't even mean anything to me. So I just took a few things and I started over. Right. And I put things that mattered to me in there.
Okay.
It's the cutest little place for just, I never had a bachelorette pad.
All right.
That's what I felt like. But because I'm still married, I'm not free in my spirit, really. Because I just don't know how, like, I'm not a cheater. That's not what I do. So even though I'm gone, I'm really somewhat tied. So all I did was prayed and worked on myself a little bit. So I hadn't been out to any jazz spots or did any real life. So I had some ladies right across the street from me, Miss Sarah and Miss Lulu. I got to say something about them because when I first went to look at that house, Lulu was there, a cute little lady. She says, are you buying that house? I said, yes, ma'am. I hadn't even talked to the realtor. I said, yes, ma'am, this is going to be my house. And I hadn't even talked to the realtor. And at that time, later, I guess 2-3 weeks after reaching out, the realtor called me and I told her I wanted the house and she said, well, it's this, that, and this. And long story short, several bids in it landed in my lap, but that was God. I know. I hadn't been to sleep probably in a couple months, maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, something like that. So I called the College Hunk team. They came in, got my items. We moved it into that house, and as soon as they sat it, and I went out and got a mattress and put it on that bed, I fell on and I slept for 2 days.
Wow.
First time my nose had not bled in months. And
Cortisol levels could just settle
up
down.
so high. That's right. It was up so high. Stress levels so high. Blood pressure going up. Yeah, all of those things. So death is in that. You can kill yourself staying in toxic relationships.
Say that
That's
again
my
for
message.
the
You can kill yourself staying in toxic relationships, especially when you know that you know it's time to go. You stay for the stuff. You stay for another Louis Vuitton bag. You stay for another pair of red bottom shoes. You stay for your Range Rover. You stay for all of that stuff. And let me tell you, brothers and sisters, I don't see them ever anytime dumping that in the ground after you're gone. It goes to the next person, whoever wants his stuff.
Right.
So my life is valuable to me. The air that I breathe, the life that I live, the smile that I give, the joy I bring when I walk into a room. I had so many people that came, women that came by way of Miss Lulu and Miss Sarah. I had no people that I wanted to bring from any of that to remind me, tell me anything, because I'm working, I'm purging, I'm going through, and I'm creating a space where God and I can live and I can hear him and never get away that far again.
Peace lived in that house.
Peace, be still. I gotta have it. Gotta have it. So I invited absolutely zero men, no men there, because I needed to not be confused about feelings and thoughts and emotions. I need to know that I'm making a decision based on knowledge, first of all, and wisdom, second of all, imparted by God himself. And if I needed a fact check, I go to the Bible for it, right? Not somebody to tell me their thoughts, views, and opinions. And so those ladies helped me so much. But then when I first got there, it was good. I felt great. So about 12 days, I started to feel so overcome by defeat.
Really?
Yeah, because I'd never left a toxic relationship or anything before.
So were you craving, so leaving toxicity, addiction of a relationship, even if it's harmful, you're feeling some withdrawals?
Withdrawals.
Okay.
That's what I know, withdrawals, because I've already been there. So what I was feeling is like I was a quitter, that I was a failure, that you probably could have saved your marriage. You probably should have went to counseling.
How did you combat that? So that's going on. That's internal dialogue.
As internal dialogue, and you combat that with doing the thing that I was doing that got me there. You go back to that fact check place, back to the Bible where God says, no, you got to be loving, you got to be kind.
How did you flip that switch?
So
how did you, what was it?
I can't
what
tell
was
you.
rock bottom? What flipped the switch? What?
The nose bleeding, having to leave, right? So the money that I put on the house was the bottom of the barrel, because we spent $300,000-$400,000 getting things in order over there, and most of that was my money. And I don't care about stuff, but I'm looking at it wrong. I'm looking at the whole picture wrong, because my thing is I came from two parents that were alcoholics, that fought each other, that cussed and fussed and raised sand all the time. I never got nurtured as a kid. My grandmother did, but not my mom. No hugs, no loves, no encouragement. This guy he could hug me, and he could smile, and he could encourage.
Deacon
so very
so-and-so.
cunning. Deacon so-and-so. Yeah, so very cunning. And but that was misconstrued for me because I never really had that kind of a closeness from anybody. So not knowing what the letters of love is in my spirit, in my soul, and in my space, having men to take advantage, take, and not really give, I had a tolerance for that, you see. So you could stay a long time for the BS. You could stay a long time for that. And when things looked like it wasn't going that way, then I could find a way to defend it, protect it, because that's what I was to my brother and my sister. These things were made clear to me later on. You're a protector, you're a sustainer, you'll pray over it, you'll hang in there when times are bad. That's what I was supposed to do. My grandmother said, no, you always hung in there with your family. You never turn your back on family. And that was true. But the other part she didn't notice how. I would go on to discover that through much prayer, supplication, and now suffering, because I suffered a great deal. So what was at risk was me. I was at risk, my soul, because I got up from that bed, I walked. How are you back in that dark place? What is this then?
Right.
You were better off not walking than dealing with this. So then now, what are you trading off here? Well, I kept going. I'm just very resilient. So I got up, started moving. Let's do something. So during COVID, I started a small business where I make natural products for pets.
Natural products
for pets.
Okay.
So now I've discovered a way that through some people, I can better market myself, my products. So one lady, she said, you should do home trade shows. You're kind of wasting your time with these great products. You should do home trade shows. So I started out going to trade shows. Now here I am in Florida, I'm in Virginia, I'm in, all over the road doing this thing. And it's like, oh my God, I should have known about this. So as I do this, I'm by myself. I'm able to go and I'm feeling better. Right? Feeling with God because he's protecting me over the road, and I'm praying and I'm loving, and I'm not with a bunch of people who are doing that. It's just me and God. I just only need to hear from him. I need to hear from God. I need to feel him in this place where I am now. And then I've got my daughters who's counting on me to get up from where I am. I've got grandchildren that's counting on me. Get up. Grandma, where are you? We haven't talked to you. Are you well? And I'm disappointing everybody because that's how I felt. That's how I felt. But you can't be ready until you're ready. You can't give somebody what you don't have. You can't give it. If you don't have love, how do you give it?
Right.
So my children missed out on so much. Now I know, because I thought I was giving love. I missed out on so many things. So I went on and we took a couple trips, and I apologized, and we loved each other, and we cried together and prayed together, and they better understood, and they were so glad I was out of that thing, because I'd lost myself. I'd gained so much weight. I was so miserable. I didn't know it. I slipped into that so easily because I can do pain.
Wow.
I can do pain. I had a big tolerance for pain. I suffered so much.
So when you're isolated, you're in your new place, you've done the self-talk, you recognize the inner voice is not from God. So you flip the switch. It's during COVID. You're reinventing yourself.
Yes.
You're becoming who God intended you to be.
Absolutely.
And
so I decided, let's go back to during COVID, because here's where connections are going to be made. So during COVID, we're in the house. I'm sewing for my daughter, making some things. And she came up with this bright idea for one of her outfits, that she wanted a leather and lace outfit.
okay.
So I said, I don't know what to do really with leather. I said, well, let me see. Flip on the channel, and I'm going through some things. So I saw lots of different people making leather things, doing leather things. And
On the internet.
on the internet,
Okay.
on YouTube specifically. YouTube. So I found this couple of guys, they're making saddlebags and all like that. I said, darn, this stuff is too hard to work with. I actually went and bought some of it because I can hand stitch, right? So I said, no, this is not working. Went back and I found this show that was in Dallas, Texas, where these two people, Carla was one person's name and Arthur Porter was another name. Never heard of those people, but Mr. Porter was leading that thing, and he was so kind and mild, and he took pictures and zoomed in, and I was like, wait a minute.
Just on YouTube. He's
Just on
slowing down,
YouTube, he doing all that stuff?
teaching leather class.
I said, wait a minute, rewind. Oh, wait a minute. I know now we need a softer leather. I only knew the hard leather
Right,
because
from the saddlebag.
so we went and we followed Mr. Porter, and I was able to make her that leather and lace that she went on to make her team come on in strong for the whole deal. And so I thought, wow, okay. So anyway, I'll fast forward back to that a little bit. Went out and bought some hides and made a few things, but my cut was off. Okay, so we're coming back to
You're
now.
learning all of this on
During
YouTube.
COVID, on
during
YouTube,
COVID.
on YouTube.
Taught
during
yourself
COVID.
to sew with leather.
Yes, I taught myself to sew. Now, Miss Carla never showed up a whole lot for the leather part of it, but she had other things that she did that I'd go on later on to know and be able to follow her. So I'll keep that right there. So we're going to come back to me doing those trade shows. I ran into this lady, and I was sharing my story with her about what I'd gone through. And she talked with me. She says, my dear, you're brighter than I was. And she shared what she had gone through. We had something, I, very alike, in that she stayed, though, for 30 years. And
A
then
divine encounter.
a divine encounter.
A mirror that was showing you yourself.
A mirror. And she told me, she says, whatever you do, keep going. Don't go back. So I was telling her about how I felt, and that it'd been 4 months at that time that I'd left, and I was feeling good. I was feeling good, and was I wrong for not going back? She says no. And he still had not called you? I said, no, he's not called, he's not checked. She said, well, what are you going back for? So that helped me to take a deeper dive. Because really, why are you even feeling this way? So I could go back and trace some things that had happened that you should have left then. And then you should have left. So many things were self-evident that I'd overlooked because of commitment to the wrong thing.
But God brought a stranger in at a trade show.
You got it.
To point a mirror up to show you yourself on things that the Lord had been trying to already show you.
Right?
Understood.
So I went out and I bought this woman's book. And the woman's book just talked about affirmations of the day. But then I went back to something that I had from a long time ago when I got home. And it was, one day my soul opened up from Iana Van Zandt. And then I had a book by Maya Angelou. One day my soul cried out. And so I went into those things, and oh boy.
They were speaking to you.
Oh.
So you had God's word, and then you had women of color around your same demographic that could speak truth and life to you.
Yes.
So then we need to make the connection on how we got here. So
then,
you've gotten encouragement. You've been doing your self-care.
Yes, yes.
You've been healing
Yes,
on your
yes,
journey.
yes.
And so your
Yes.
journey from a video in Dallas, then how do you end up getting here?
So here in Dallas right now. So let's go back to free the whole thing. And my husband died in December
Okay.
of 2023. But now I'd already been gone almost 2 years at that time. He got sick in November, first time ever hearing that he had cancer, November the 27th. And then my daughter called and said, Dad's sick. I said, oh, yeah? She said, yeah. Can you go see about him? I almost said no, but I'm not that person. I said, yeah, sure. I went. And so fast forward, he got diagnosed stage 1. They said December the 18th he died. It was stage 4 and nothing could be had. I got to free myself in that place. And I was sitting there when they said, no, it's not stage 1, it's stage 4, and there's nothing we can do. So he looked at me, he said, when the doctor left out, can you believe I've got cancer? I said, yeah. I said, yeah.
Okay.
I told him before we stopped talking, I said, you are not letting anything in, you're not letting anything out. In this system, you can't exist like that. Like God needs people he can do things to, with, and for. If you're none of that, you don't serve this system a purpose. So when he got that diagnosis, I told him, I said, you were a cancer to me. And he was. I was so sick. So, but I stayed from the time they diagnosed to the time he died. I only left one time because it was going fast. He had lung cancer and he was drowning in his own fluids. And my nursing skills allowed me to do a lot of bedside things for him, and I did. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did. I freed myself because I wasn't bitter. I wasn't poisonous. I wasn't toxic. I refused to let him talk about that time, that space when we were apart. Just let's make this be your better days. And I got on the side of the bed beside him and I told him, I'll always love you. What we had, we had. I'm sorry that I had to endure what I had to endure, but I'm sorry this is happening to you now. But God will be with you always, and know that I'll always love you. And thank you for what you did show me. I learned a lot through this, and I really did. Even though the Exodus was not what we planned for, you can learn at every phase of your life. So the Exodus taught me more going out than it did coming in. But at some point, you got to get it. You got to get it. So I put him to rest, and that was it. So Jackie in that house with Lulu and Sarah. So I invite those ladies over here and there. They say, no, we got to have a margarita. I said, I don't really drink. They say, oh, yeah, you're going to have a margarita. Right. You're old enough. So anyways, we had a Taco Tuesday this one time. And we had an amazing time in that I invited several of their friends. It ended up being about 15 women. And I had an opportunity to sit, like how you and I are basically sitting now, and tell some of my story. And so after that, they said, no, you're to get up and start living your life. You've been in here too much. They fed me. They worried about me. They called me. They checked on me. So I decided I'm going to live life. So I got out, started my trade shows, and it just felt like now I need to put the products now online. I need to do something different. I'm in a whole different place. It's, 8 months later now that he's been gone. I've been gone almost 2.5 years now. So I said, what do I need love. I've already cried out to God and said, why me? Why not love for me? Everybody, I've done so much. I'm still on this. Why not love for me? I have prayed. I've done everything. I've held steadfast. I've not done it. What is it for me then? And so, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call that place and learn how to make leather. I still got those 3 hides sitting there. So I said, I'm going to call that place. And so I went back to the YouTube because I'm still watching. I said, I'm going to call. So I called and I left a message. This is Jacqueline Bowman in Columbia, South Carolina. I saw you guys on YouTube. I want to come take a class with you, Mr. Arthur and his wife. So I got a call back a couple of days later. This is Arthur Porter. You left a message. I said, oh, yes. I was so excited. These people are actually real. They actually called me back. I was so excited. So I said, yes, I want to come take a class out there. Yeah, I'll fly out. And he says, well, when do you want to do that? And I said, well, next week. He says, okay, fine. Tell me what days. And so I said, well, I'll just come for a week and learn from you, and then I'll go back. And so we made the appointment. So then he says, well, when you get your flight, you let me know. So I said, okay. And so I called back like the next day and I said, listen, I've already booked my flight. He says, okay, well, you and your husband can come stay at my house while you're there. I said, no, I said, my husband's deceased. I thought I left that message. I'm sorry. He says, oh, no. He says, no worries. Well, if you can trust, you can come to my house. You can stay there. You'll be safe there. Nothing will happen to you. You can YouTube me. You can go anywhere and find me. I'm an honest person. I would never do anything to harm you. You could come on in. I said, well, okay, then I'll get a rental car. And he says, no, I'll pick you up from the airport. And I'm thinking to myself, okay. Like, I'm good with all that. I am one of the most paranoid people I can think of when it comes to meeting new people, and strange people, and men. How dare you? You know what I mean? How dare you be that relaxed? But I can, in this place that God has been working with me, and I know what I asked him, right? So I'm doing something different. Number one, I'm going by myself, right? You don't do that. You're going to take a class. You know, that's not something you go that far to do. So it's some new things here that I'm doing. And him asking me that felt just right. I've been watching this guy for however long. He doesn't even feel like a stranger saying you could come stay, right?
Okay.
I know his wife is there, so I'm going. So I get
You
to,
assume his wife.
So I fly into the airport. And Mr. Porter is there as promised, right? So he picks me up, right? And we come over to the studio and we do all of those wonderful things I've seen him doing.
Right.
And Miss Carla was there. So, oh, look, his wife is Carla. He says, oh, no, that's not my wife. My wife died and whenever. So now I get to go back to what I initially saw when he picked me up from the airport. He looked like you're a little Spike Lee, you know, walking into the room.
Okay.
He got a little swag, but I got to deny that. No.
That Spike Lee swag.
Yeah, he got that. But that's somebody's husband. You better, don't you do that.
Turn it down.
Don't you do that. No, ma'am.
Flame
You
down.
turn your head and get right. So now I can go back to, oh, my God. So you're So he says, yes, I'm widowed, and we chopped that up a little bit. And one thing led to another. So then we left for the day. We finished up. I cut out my bag I came to make, and we had good work for that day. So we come back a few more days to go on later to be able to make the bag. So we left, went to the grocery store. So he says, I said, no, you will not buy anything. You're letting me stay. I'm going to buy the groceries. So he says, well, whatever you want, get it. I said, okay, and I'll do that same thing for you. Whatever you want, you let me know. So we went grocery shopping. It was so, I can't say what it was. It was a sense of belonging. Like, he was waiting so patiently there for me, and I was going around
grocery store
at
outing.
a grocery store.
Okay.
Outing. That was our first encounter. He was just standing there so patient.
That was your
waiting.
first date?
That's our first date at the grocery store. So I said, I said to the butcher, I said, we're going to take that whole side of salmon. So he said, I'll wait for it, because he had another. So I went on to pick up, you know how we do when we get in the grocery store, rounding up items. And so by the time I had an armful of stuff, he was standing right there, right behind me. So I turned around and put it in. I said, oh, thank you so much. He says, oh, no problem. Are you going to get something else? Because I almost got the buggy full. I said, well, what did you want? He says, no, I'm good. So we left there. So we go to his house, beautiful house. Oh, my God. We pull up. It's beautiful. He has a beautiful home. I'm walking through his home, like walking through that shop. The first entry is like an ambiance of peace that just kind of comes over you. Like, when I walk in, I can feel peace there. I can feel it. So anyways, I go into the kitchen now, and he's passing things. We're putting it up. And I still feel a sense of peace after him sharing that his wife had died and she lived there. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? But I don't feel anything. I just feel calm, right? His voice, his tone, his demeanor. I might have a little tension, but it's so calming when I get there. So he says, well, we put that up. Let's put your luggage up. I'm going to put you in the master bedroom. I'm going to take you around there, and you can put your stuff up. I'll give you some hangers. I've made room. I said, no, I'll just keep my stuff in the bags. I'm good. So we set the luggage down, and I went back to the kitchen and proceeded to cook.
Okay.
So we were in there just a couple hours. I can't recall the time. Time wasn't of essence to me. I was just leaning into how beautiful all of these things that I'm doing was. First, I just went and made that bag. I got my cut right, I make that bag. I got my cut right. And Mr. Porter is teaching me, and we just going on with that. And Carla is not his wife. Oh, my God.
Uh-oh. Okay.
So I done found that out, and it's like, wait a minute, hold up. Why is that relevant? right? So like I'm feeling something. I ain't saying nothing. So then he sits in the chair and he turns to me and he says, you know what? And I'm like, no, like what, wait a minute now, what's going on? But I don't feel arrested by that, you know what? But I feel in this place where God gives me, I only feel that here when God is giving it to me.
Okay.
He says, you know what? And I almost know what. I do. I almost know. And he says, you're the one. I said, I am. Now, I'm going to fast back for a second. My aunt told me, now it's been over a month and a half ago, she said to me, she said, you've got something. She says, and her mother, my grandmother, left that with you. You're the one. You got it. Then here he is now saying, I'm the one.
Okay.
I can feel the connection. So he says, I don't know how to say this to you because I have a strange way of running people off. I said, well, I don't know about the running the people off situation, but for me, I'm a shoot straight from the hip kind of person. I'm not well received usually when I do that. I said, but if there's something wrong, we can make it right through conversation and understanding. So he proceeded to say, will you marry me?
And 2 hours in the kitchen.
And I just...
2 hours in the kitchen.
2 hours in the kitchen.
Uh-huh.
And I looked at him for a minute.
So do we recommend this for everybody? This is your story.
So I'm going to tell anybody and everybody that there is a song we sing, there's a life we live, and there's a scripture that says, let go and let God, is what I'll tell you. Now, I don't recommend this for everybody because everybody ain't purging and asking God and crying out. If you're not that person, you know you're not that person. I don't recommend that.
Because you've asked, why not love for me?
Why not love for me? And for all that I had been through and all that God had brought me through. And without him, I'm nothing. I could not have come through not one of those things that I've shared. And there's so much I hadn't told. Could not have been in that place with Arthur Porter that day without his blessings. You got to get on the plane. You got to get off it. You got this wonderful being who comes and picks you up and offer now himself to you.
Right.
And he's available. And I'm available. Like, what is there to lose? You've done everything else. Now try God. So now I've heard it. Yes.
He asked you to marry him. 2 hours in the kitchen cooking.
Yeah.
And you said what?
Yes.
Oh. Well,
Right
hello.
there.
Right there.
Right there.
Okay.
Because marriage to some, I don't know what it is, but it's a commitment. Marriage is a commitment. I'm a committed person. So when he asked me to marry, I hear a man who's wanting to commit himself to me. I never had that. You got to go through all of the, I'll say Arthur's word, the interviews and all of the putting on, and the best person got to show up, and then you decide on whatever you decide on.
So you've been through some things.
I've been through
in
a
your
lot of
journey.
things, yes.
This is not your first relationship.
It's not.
In Texas, they would say this is not your first rodeo. So what you've learned, what are you using to filter through Arthur Porter?
So Arthur Porter, number one, here we go. He's asking for a commitment up front.
Okay.
He says, we can not do this. He says, but I don't know how not to be committed. Now that's God speaking to me.
Okay.
Because that's what I don't know. I said that to you earlier. That's what I don't know is how not to be committed. Like I don't do platonic relationships. Like my whole goal when I find somebody is we're going to be committed. If we're not committed, I don't go with it.
Right.
So this guy is solving my problem for me. He's ready to give himself to me. And we've already talked about now God. We sat down. After he said that, we sat down and I'm like, how did you get to this being me? And is this something you do all the time? I know it's not. I can feel it's not. He says, no. He says, I am who I say I am. And so many other beautiful things. And all of this is hitting me all in the right place. Like I am sitting there crying. I'm not a sappy person at all. Like I'm he's saying all of the right things to me. He's talking about his pain and how he felt like he was going to give up. And I'm talking about my pain and how all that I had been through, and that I could have never known that coming to take a class would have landed me in that place.
And you came to take the class on what date? For our listening
So
audience.
that was on
August
the 10th.
10th.
August the 10th.
August
of
the 10th.
2024.
For our listening audience, today is September 4th.
It's the 4th.
So I just met you last week.
Yes.
As he has told, I was out of town.
Yes.
For the 3 weeks.
Yes.
And Mr. Porter shares with us, the Dallas Design Dreams family, that he's found a wife.
Yes.
Somebody that he wants to love until the end of his days. And
Yes.
then you are the answer. When you have been crying out, Lord, why not love for me? We did not know in the Dallas Design Dreams family, he was also praying for.
Why not him?
Why not him? So I want to stay tuned because there's a lot to share. Plus,
Yes.
I said with Mr. Porter, when he asked that we do this interview, I said, I will do it, but you got to be on the interview too. So
Okay.
the part 2 to stay tuned is Mr. Porter will
Yes.
be on
Yes.
to share his story.
Yes.
But you have, thank you for your time and thank you for sharing so much of your journey.
Yes.
There's a book, there's a TV series in here, something,
Yeah.
just even with the encouragement of your tribe that you
Yeah.
had with the
Yeah.
women,
Yeah.
your neighbors
Yes.
that came and ministered
Yes.
love to
Yes.
you.
Beautiful.
That we should all be aware of our daily assignments to speak love and encouragement to someone because you never know what people are
Don't know.
going through.
We don't know.
But it's been delightful to have you on,
Yes.
Miss Jacqueline.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm
for
so
having
glad
me.
that love
Yes.
found you.
Yes. Yes.
And for the Just Keep Living family, if that is your story or any of this resonates to you, with you, please stay tuned. Click on subscribe, like, share on the Just Keep Living podcast on Potatron Network. This is Marva. We'll talk to you soon.